So when you launch Riftsoft, you go into server MS SQL, datarealtech.com, port 1433, username and password, and then you pick the database that you want to access, in my case CDA, and load. So once you're in the database, to export everything, there's the button, looks like the printer button. So you go there and you export the entire hierarchy. So that's the file name, but I want to be able to connect to my linked file, so I will put it in raw data and replace the old raw file with this new one. So I just double click on the old file name and replace yes, and that way all changes, if they've cleansed all the asset tag fields and all that, I'll see that right away if it's been done. This is the raw data file. I don't want to work in it. I'll work in my linked file that links to it. So this is the linked file. So I'll just do a data refresh all, just so it's all updated. And then I'll just see if they've fixed the fields. So the fields that we're talking about that had leading or trailing spaces were the like sort fields. They look fine. Just double click in the field and it looks fine. There was the other ones were the asset tags, these fields. So if I double click, you see those spaces are still there. So that hasn't been done yet. So that if I'm going to do it in here, and then I mass load all the cleansed data back in, then I would create a field. And because this is a linked data file, and how I created that was just from a blank sheet. I'll just do it again. From a blank sheet, you go data, get from file, and whether it's a CSV file or an Excel file, what is your raw data? So my raw data from Riftsoft is Excel, and it's in my folder MCS raw data right there. And you notice I keep the same file name, so the link, once you establish the link, it's always there. Just need to do a data refresh. So it wants to know which sheet I want to connect with, and it's functional locations, and that creates the connection. Now it may do some type changes, and it's detecting the second row as an error. So I don't want it to. Don't want it to change types. So, and it doesn't like that second row. That second row is the value counts and stuff. So I can basically tell it to not bring in that row. Remove errors. I'll just bring it in as is. So I go close and load, and it brings in all the data. So it didn't like the second row, so it just brought it in blank. So I can go back in by double clicking this to fine tune how I want it to treat that row, to ignore it or ignore the errors to bring in whatever it was. And so now this is a linked data file, so I'd save it as whatever. And anything I do, if I do a formula, like if I insert a formula to say what I want the length of the flock. So that would be equal len of this cell. And when you refer to the cell, it refers to it as a field name, the functional location. When I hit enter, it automatically populates all the cells in this data table. So as I do refresh, no matter how the data changes in the raw file, the formula is always going to be perfect to all the data. It'll grow and shrink as needed. Exit this file and throw it away. Don't save, because that's what's done in this file. So when I go to the top, and so these are a couple fields I added, and when I add a field, calculation field or whatever, always color code the heading green or different color, so I know this is not in the native raw data. This is something I added. So I simply added an order field. So I just put in number 1 and I put here equals that plus 1, and then copied it all the way down. And that way I can refer to that number, or then to ones I want to prioritize. I want to work on from the top down, then that gives me that ability of prioritizing all the assets in all my different lists when looking at managing maintenance plans and so on. I can prioritize better. And the level of what this flock is at is a simple if the function with the length of the function location. If it's 25, then that means it's a level 5. So that's what I want to know. So I want to be able to identify the level 5s anytime I want. And another formula I put in, I'll put in now, is to cleanse the equipment number. So I'll insert a new field, color code it green, because it's not raw data, and I'm going to call this field the cleansed leg. You keep So this field is going to be equal clean and trim of this field. Well, I need 2 close brackets. So now that's cleansed. And I want that formula to be dynamic, so as in a few months, if a mistake like that happens again with spaces, then this is the field I'm going to refer to in all my formulas, not the leg of equipment. I'll refer to cleansed leg. And actually, I don't like the field name cleansed leg, so I'm going to call it leg of equipment underscore cleansed. So I want the same formula for cleansing the other field. So I'm going to insert a column. I'm going to copy that over here and say it's this one, this field, not leg of equipment number. Now if I copy this formula over, because it's almost the same, if I copy it to here, see what it does. It's looking at cleaning trim leg equipment number, because it's kind of like a locked reference. It's looking at this field. So that's not good. I would want to have, and it did copy it all the way down. So I want to have it pointing to leg mapping. So I just double click the field it picked and change it to this field. And that has fixed it. So it's now the cleansed version of this field. So that's the field I'll be looking at. And this is a number field, so I don't think there's any leading or trailing spaces on this one. I could do it in the data. I can convert this to a number. If every time I'm looking at this asset number, if is it text or is it number, I can make it so it's a number in here by going to the data query. I can go into the query that built that, and I can go in and change it so it's a numeric. So, and it'll, if there's any errors, it'll tell me that there's errors in that column. That will tell me I can't convert it to numeric. I'd have to leave it as text and deal with it as text. So I'll give it a try. This thinks it's ABC 1, 2, 3, so it's kind of like a mixture. So that's one potential red flag. So if I convert it to a whole number with no decimal places, and then if I go close and load, you'll see if it detects any errors in the data. Yeah, and that's that top row. So that's okay if I want it to be considered numeric. You'll see now the text lines up. The numbers line up to the right because it's detecting them as now numbers. So it depends on what you're comparing to, if you want it to be as detected as text or numbers. So now if I want to use this function location in any spreadsheet that I have an asset tag, I want to do an X lookup. So I'll give you that example in a minute. So I want to bring in some raw data to be able to map to the function location. So I'll do a get data from file. In this case, it's CSV because my raw data that I got to work with is CSVs. So there's maintenance schedules, instructions, work orders. And so the work order file here will have the asset tag. So I'll map to that. So I'm just going to load the data and see what transformations makes assumptions sometimes, and if it detects errors like this, you got to take away its assumption, because it's assuming some things are numbers and it's hitting some rows that are text, and it's not going to bring that data in. So I don't want incomplete data. So sometimes Excel makes assumptions based on the first rows of data that it encounters. If it encounters numbers, it makes the assumption that that field's numbers. Okay, so it has 11,000 errors, where some fields that it thinks are numbers are not always numbers. So I'm going to go into this query because I can't accept those errors. I go into the query and see what you'll see, that it's done some sort of changing type. So it would have been making an assumption that these are numbers, which most of them look like numbers, but it's not good. So I'm going to remove that assumption and then close and load, and you'll see it will load without any errors. Now, if you want to see where the errors were, because maybe there's a leading or trailing space or an apostrophe, then you can leave the errors, and it'll create another table of just the errors, so you can analyze what's dirty in the data and cleanse it. In this case, I'm just loading them as text, and I'll get mapped. The work order numbers doesn't matter. They're as text, is fine. I'm not doing any math with them. Okay, so now in this is linked to the raw data. So as the raw data changes, like if they update, they do another dump of work orders, then this would update automatically. When I open the file, you can make that as a setting, or you can go data refresh. So I wanted to map to the function location on these rows. So I'm going to find the field I can use, if it's an asset tag. And I want to also show you how to bring in English. I want to have English labels above here. So I need a table of all the field codes, and then I can reference that to bring the this row to be the field labels in English. So I'll do that in a second. No, I better bring in the field labels. Okay, so to bring in the field labels, so I copied all the fields and their descriptions off the online data that we were given access to, and I just consolidated them all in this table here. And this table is on a sheet called Fields All, so I want to bring that to my file that I'm working with here, FLOCS from Riftsoft. So I'm going to right click on the tab, and I'm going to copy the tab to my FLOCS from Riftsoft. So I have that data here as well. Now this Fields All, I want to be able to reference it. So I'm going to make sure it's got a range name, Fields All, that works, good. And on my work order, I don't have the field labels. I want the field labels. So I have a formula that, so you don't have to type it every time. I'm going to go and grab it. I have it in my process steps here that I'm documenting my steps. So the formula I found faster and better to use, because I can copy it right across, is this formula. So I paste it here, make sure it's clean, nothing in front, equals da 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 da. Fields All data, I'm not sure if that's the same name. Fields All data. So Fields All data, I'm just going to hit enter, see if it works. Yeah. So it's looking at Fields All data, which is Fields All data, yeah, which is that table. Just making sure that it's grabbed, it's properly named everything. Good. Okay, so that formula there is looking up A2, which is this code field, in Fields All data table, and it's looking in the column called field, this column, and it's bringing back, so it's going field to field, so this makes it's an absolute reference. I can then copy it right across. And then this one is what data you want to bring back is Fields All data, the description field. And again, description, description makes it an absolute reference, so it won't change as I copy it across. And then NA just means if it doesn't find a match, then what do you want it to say? You want to say not available or whatever, or blank. And then this 0 just means I want it to find an exact match. So when you're in that cell, if you remove the 0, you'll see gives you your options. I want it to be only an exact match. So when I hit enter, it gives me the result, and I know that's the order type. And watch the magic, I can copy it across, and it gives me all the field labels in English. So I'm just going to copy all that all the way across, zing. And if you want to speed up the spreadsheet, a couple of ways to do it is you can get rid of these formulas, just copy and paste as values, so they're not calculating all the time. And you can also go to formulas, calculation, and make it manual, so that it's not going to calculate anything until you ask it to. So if you make any change, if I copy this and paste as values, anyway, you're going to see where I have calculations and stuff, it would have a slash through the data saying it needs a recalculation. And then I can just go calculate sheet, or calculate now will calculate all the sheets. So there's a couple of ways of speeding up the file. So now I have my labels. Now I can find the data I want. Oh, I went to save it. So when I hit save, it automatically forces a calculate all. So it's taking a bit of time to do that. Okay, so I want to speed it up. I'll copy that, paste as values. But what I want to do now is just find that field. I'm going to copy, paste these as values on top of themselves, and then do a search. Asset. There, found an asset number. So that's the asset number I want to look up to find the function location. And this is the unit tags. Okay, so I want to, there should be no, oh, there's space in that one. Unit tag numbers. Now I need to cleanse that also. So the unit tag number underscore cleanse. And that's going to be the column heading and green. But I got to get that, I want to get the formula from here, just so I don't have to type it again. I'm going to copy the text of the formula into this spot, and then change the field it's referring to this field. And that's, now you see the slashes because it's not able to recalculate. So that doesn't matter, it looks like it's working. So if I want to get rid of the slash, I'll say calculate sheet, and you'll see it's recalculated everything. So that's the cleanse version of that. If I was using this to look up the function location, it'd probably be better to use this. I'll do both just to see if there's any difference. So I'm going to find the flock, and again make it green. Okay, so the flock would be equal x lookup. I want to look up this asset number in the function location field. This leg of reference, right? So it's from this cell. I want to search from that cell all the way to the very bottom leg of reference. Click, shift click. And if you get good, you can just type in that code that represents that column. So I want to look up that column. When it has a hit, when it finds something, what do I want to bring back? I want to bring back the function location, which is this column. From there, click on the heading, and shift click the last cell, and that's what I want to bring back. And then if it can't find it, I want it to say NA, and I want an exact match. So when I hit enter, that should populate all those potential function locations. So see if it found any hits. Well, it found nothing. And the reason why is because these are text. Remember, I converted to numbers in the function location field. So if I converted that if I left it as text, then it would have found a hit. I wouldn't have to do a formula to say value of that. So maybe I'm going to remove that application of changing it to numbers. Just leave it as it was. So we wanted to delete that step and close and save. And now that formula had to recalculate. So formulas, calculate sheet. Now see if it has, oh, it found some. It has hits, see? So, because it's now looking at it as text, not values, and it's seeing a match. Now I want to see if I can get the same match with the tag, the asset tag, either this tag or this tag. Looks like they're identical. So I'll just do it to the, well, those are ones I did a cleansing of. Okay, so I'm going to insert a column, and this will be the flock based on finding it. And you notice I type flock and it won't allow field names to be the same, so it automatically added a 2 at the end. So I want to do the same formula, but looking for this in a different field. So it's almost identical. So I could copy that over and then just edit the formula. Say, look up this field, which is not right. I don't want to look up that. I want to look up this field. Okay, I'm going to hit the escape key because I'm going to start this again. Okay, so this is, I want to look up this unit tag. So not that field, I want to look up this field. In the function location all leg of reference. And so the leg of reference, that's function location all. I wanted to look up in that asset tag, the cleansed version of the asset tag, which would be either one of those, right? So that's the field name I want. So I'm going to go grab the text of that, like mapping cleanse to, or this one. I guess I'll take that one, they're identical, and grab that as the field name. So I can put into the place of this formula. So look up this, I have to change that, function location all this field. I want to search that field and bring back the function location. So this I got to change to be referencing the cleansed tag. Let's see what happens. I hit enter. Okay, so it also found function locations. I don't like the slashes through, so I'll calculate the sheet and see what it looks like. Well, why did it calculate that? Because that is getting from another sheet that's calculating, so I have to calculate the whole thing. I'll calculate the whole file, not just the sheet. Now it'd be interesting to see if when this finds a function location where this one doesn't, if there's any occurrences of that, because I think there are some issues with that. But anyway, it looks pretty good. It looks like it's a one-to-one. Every time it finds it one way, it finds it the other way. Anyway, so that's a quick overview of how to map to the function location through the export from Realtek, and then you can bring that information by looking up asset tags or numbers. And I can then use that in making my plan, because my plan item needs to have the function location assigned. Anyways, I hope that made sense. So just, you have to kind of play around with it a bit and to get things to work sometimes. The editing formulas that you saw, it's not rocket science, it's kind of logic, but and it's a lot easier just to copy a formula than it is to build it from scratch. Have a good day.